I don't think I would have done character shows if it hadn't been for like how much I loved Alan and Steve's other output. Like, we had the cassette of Live and Lewd, the one with Paul and Pauline Calf on it, and Duncan Thicket, like the shit comic.
Don't run away.
Don't run away. Don't run away. I'm David Daft. I think David Daft has influenced me the most out of any Steve Coogan creation. I don't think I'd have done a multi-character show if I hadn't sort of essentially been brought up on that. And also, like, it was when Victoria Wood died, I then watched a lot of her sketches that I hadn't watched in years and years, some probably since I was a kid, and I went, oh, this has seeped its way into my brain as well. I can see it. Not stealing the material, but that thing that Steve Coogan and Victoria Wood do so well, which is they do characters that don't have jokes. They're just funny. They say stuff and it's funny because it's like perfect character work, and I really always aspire to do that. I do a couple of characters now. I don't really do characters live on stage anymore. But when I've been doing characters in lockdown on Twitch, which is live streaming, and also just in videos. And it's always the blueprint. Like, the character should just be believable and funny and react to situations in a way that you believe that character would. And that's what Steve Coogan always does. If I can intellectualize a very funny guy.
I do wonder how, he kind of thinks. You have critics and you have reviewers and you have fans and you have, podcasts like ourselves and things like that, who, because they are comedy nerds and just fans of their work, dissect it and like ultimately he just think it's just a funny character that I do for a bit of a laugh. And
he would probably go no way as deep as that into it, but it's all there. Yeah,
given the chance, we'll ask him, but.
He eluded you thus far,
but never say never. But does I guess you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but does New Partridge still get you excited? Is Partridge is it still something that comics discuss sort of in the inner circle in terms of like breaking it down like we do, or discussing it and saying like, have you seen this yet? Is it still sort of like a hot topic when it comes to comedy, and I guess like the comic sort of circuit?
Definitely. When we're also happy when a new Partridge thing comes out and it's good. So when this time came out, all the comedians are writing like, this is so brilliant, oh my god, I'm so happy that it's good. And the same thing happened with the Oast House. Like, comedians would gradually post like, I've just reached episode 4 of the Oast House and I'm so happy Alan Partridge works so well in this particular format, like in the podcast medium. So yeah, it definitely happens.
Yeah, I do. I kind of find it fascinating because obviously, it's not a world that we're involved in, so it's always kind of interesting to kind of hear about that. He is still Partridge and Coogan is still just as kind of influential as he ever been, and if anything, we've spoken to quite a few people sort of about this, and have just said it's actually got better. There's an argument to say that the Gibbons era is stronger and more consistent than anything.
Because of Partridge, between like the early 90s and now, you've had The Office and stuff like The Thick of It, and God, I'm trying to think of other things that what's the Rob Brydon thing?
The Trip.
There was Marion and Jeff,
and
that one he made with Julia Davis, and now I can't remember the name of it. Where they had but there's been a lot of that sort of that character comedy that I'm talking about, where it's not necessarily they're wisecracking and making jokes, it's just they're real people and they're absurd and funny.
This country, so things like that.
Yeah, that's it. There's been so much of that stuff. So Partridge has had to evolve because I think people are more comedy literate with character comedy. Does that make sense? So I think there's been no choice but to get better. And also, Steve Coogan knows that character now so well that he can be interviewed as Alan and it's easy for him. And I think that's my main inspiration, because I've got a character called Malcolm Dempster who I'm constantly worrying is too much like Partridge, but he's sort of an anti-woke, bitter, divorced man whose kids aren't talking to him, and he's much angrier than Alan though, and also I would never say like I think he's as good a character, because like obviously not, but the ideal is that people can ask me questions as Malcolm and I know exactly how Malcolm would answer them, because I've seen that Steve Coogan's got that. I'm like, that's such a cool thing to be able to do. I also dress up as Princess Diana and answer questions as her. So, I'm varied. She's nothing like Alan Partridge.